Finally, in mid-August, I had lost almost all of my hair. It was then I stood up and made the decision I was not going to let him get my hair. He'd had enough of me. I fought back. As a very good friend of mine said to me, he got one night. Don't give him your life. I went to counseling and I really worked hard on trying to eat. Little by little, my hair came back, my sense of enjoyment came back, and I started to laugh again. It was through this therapy that I realized I was going to speak about my experience. There was one person that I could help. My job was done. I believe by telling my story, someone will benefit. Someone will share my story with a friend or a coworker who will then find the strength to come forward and get the help they so desperately need. If you know of someone who has been raped, please understand the enormity of what they are going through and help guide them to the right people who can help them. It will be the best thing that you've ever done, I promise. Today, I stand here as a survivor. I survived being raped, harassed by my landlord, and almost evicted. Who would have thought as a rape victim you had to hire an attorney to handle these things? I did not know that. I was fired by my boss because he simply did not know how to deal with the fact that I had been raped. Suddenly, my whole identity became a rape victim, not the single, powerful, career-driven woman I once was. I worked for a man who takes great pride in managing people's money, specializing in estate planning and assisting the elderly with their savings. Imagine that. You quickly learn who your friends are during these trying times. I'm grateful to say I only lost a job, but not one single friend. As I approach my one-year anniversary, I'm so proud to stand here before you and share my story. I cherish my children who've stood beside me and never once let me stand alone. I'm forever grateful to my friends, many of whom are here tonight. Without you, none of this would have been possible. I ask everyone to stand with me and bring awareness to sexual assault, and together we can make a difference. If you are a victim, get help. Contact a rape crisis center, call a friend, tell a teacher, counselor, but please do not be part of the 75%. Please make a difference. You could be that one person to make a case against someone like the man who raped me. You could be the one person who comes forward and helps convict a serial rapist who previously got away with raping his neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Stephanie Baruch, who is from the Rape Crisis Center for Contra Costa County, and I believe she heads the Department of Community Violence Solutions. Is that correct?
I work at Community Violence Solutions, which is the Rape Crisis Center for Contra Costa County and Marin counties. What I do is basically I'm a victim advocate. My job is to go to the hospital with rape victims when they're getting their rape kit done. I was there with Maureen as I sat with her for 5-6 hours as she got her rape kit done, and then the next day as we went on an interview together to the detective. It is amazing how far she's come in a year. Absolutely amazing, and it is amazing that Grace put this on, so I could see her and see how well she's done in a year, and it's an absolute amazing thing to see. So, I work as a victim advocate, I work as a case manager. I see people from the ages of 3 months all the way up to, my oldest was 81, and I've been doing this for the last 3 years. And Contra Costa County averages 29 rape victims or sexual assault kits a month, which means of those 29, there are far more that are not reported. So I work for Community Violence Solutions. but first and foremost, I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor of sexual molestation when I was 17 from someone who I knew from in a religious capacity. And then I was gang raped when I was 18. After my sexual assault when I was 17, I was a senior in high school and just wanted to get away. So I grew up in Silicon Valley, where everything is lavish and everybody's hush-hush about everything that should be talked about more. So I didn't tell anybody about what happened to me regarding this molestation. I figured I was a senior, I was about to go to college, I just went to college. So I got into college in Florida, and I went across the country and thought that I would never look back. When I was in Florida, my first month at school as a college freshman, I went out to a club, and I thought I was on top of the world. I thought I was in this new place in this city that was great. I was leaving the past behind me. I thought absolutely nothing could happen to me. I thought I was invincible. I was completely naive. Because of my first molestation, my inhibitions were down in the first place. I was more vulnerable than ever. But I didn't think of it that way. I thought I was this 18-year-old girl and who was about to see the world. And I wanted some real life experience. So I went to a club and I met these guys. And they were from Britain, and they were military, and they were on leave. And one of them came up to me and was interested in me. And I was interested in him because he was interested in me. And I was like, wow, I'm really flattered that this guy likes me. And he started dancing with me. And it's like any other college situation. You find a guy that you like and that likes you, and you're like, wow, you know, this could either turn into a hookup, or it could be, you know, he could be my boyfriend, you know. He was really cool, and I thought that it was great. He asked me to go back with him to his place, and I said, okay. And for years, I said, why did I say okay? I had the choice to say no. I could have said, no, I don't want to go back with you. But the 18-year-old in me thought absolutely nothing could happen to me, that I was in charge, that I was in control. And I wanted to go back with him. I wanted to consensually have sex with this one person. But I didn't know that all of his friends went back with him. They first took me to a strip club, which, being 18 and from this area, I just had never been to. And I didn't want to be there. And that's when I realized that these men, the guy that I had wanted to be with, was not the guy that I thought I knew in the club. He was older, and he was drunk, and his friends were smoking, and I didn't want to be there. So I turned to the guy that I thought that I wanted to be there with, and I was like, you know, this really isn't for me. Can you call me a taxi? I just want to go home. And he was like, you're not going anywhere. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, you're not going anywhere, we're not done with you yet. And I just didn't know what to say, and I was scared. I started becoming scared for the first time. And after the strip club, they took me to his apartment, their apartment, I guess. And they told me to, you know, get on the bed and get undressed, or something would happen to me. And I was scared, and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't have anything with me. Stupid me, you know, I didn't have my cell phone. I didn't have anything besides my license and my car keys and some money, because what else do you really need at a club except for that? And they raped me, all 5 of them, all different ways. And it went on for a long period of time, and I don't even know. And then after they were done, they didn't want to drive me back to where my car was. And I said, you have to drive me back to my car. And so one of them did, but in order for me to get out of the car, to go to my car, to get home, I had to give one of them oral sex. after I finally got back to my dorm, it was 4 o'clock the next morning, I thought about going to the police. And this is where my story differs from most everybody here. I didn't report. I didn't report. And I should have reported. I should have realized that it didn't matter what I was wearing. It didn't matter that I'd come from a club, and it didn't matter that I willingly went with one person to have sex. I was raped, and I didn't even see it. I saw someone who went to a club and got what they asked for. Someone who tried to say no, but didn't, and chalk it up to an experience that I'm just gonna forget about because I don't want to think about it anymore. It happened, and it's over, and I'm not gonna do anything about it because what is everyone gonna do anyway? And I didn't want to involve anyone. I didn't want my parents back home to know what happened. I didn't want my dorm people to know what happened. I mean, I'd only been in college for a month. So I didn't tell anyone. The aftermath of what happened started hitting me little by little, and I didn't even realize it. I became extremely promiscuous. I started not caring about myself. I started cutting. I started throwing up, purging. I engaged in risky sex. I just didn't care about myself. And I was actually already in therapy for previous issues, and I didn't tell my therapist. I couldn't. So, about a year and a half later, about my sophomore year of college, I told my therapist, and I slowly began to talk about what happened. I was questioning for a long time why this happened to me. Why did God, if there was a God, why did this happen to me? I grew up Jewish, and I grew up pretty religious. And I wondered why, if there was a higher power, why they would let this happen. So, the summer after my sophomore year of college, I went to Israel on a birthright trip. And I went to the Western Wall, which is the holiest place in all of Israel, and it's considered sacred among the Jewish people. And I went there, and I asked God, as I stood in front of the wall, and I said, why is this happening to me? Why did this happen to me? Why did you let this happen to me? And the answer that I got was peace, inner peace, for the first time. I realized at that moment that I was on this earth, and I was put through this to help other people through what they have gone through. After that, I started opening up about what happened to me. I started engaging in counseling, like for real. I started speaking about what happened to me. I started speaking at Take Back the Night at my college. My entire career path changed. I was on the road to becoming a journalist. I got my degree in writing, and I was gonna go write for the New York Times. But everything changed. And I finished my degree in writing and applied back here for a master's degree in psychology because I wanted to do this. This is the work that I was meant to do. That's my story. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about bystanders and intervention. Last week it's a show on ABC called What Would You Do? It's right before 2020. They had a segment last week on spring break where they had actors and actresses go down to where like a spring break place is. So they went to like somewhere in Texas that's like right on the beach. And they had an actress portray a drunk girl at a bar. And what they wanted to see was, would anyone respond if an actor pretended to be a predator hitting on her and asking her to go back with him to his room, where he could essentially rape her when she was incoherent. They wanted to see if anyone would respond, if anyone would intervene and say, no, you can't take her, she's drunk, let me call her a cab instead. What happened was, before they could even get the actor to come in, a man approached the girl and did exactly what the actor was supposed to do. The man came up to the drunk actress and said, "Here, baby, let me take care of you." This was not part of the script. This was something completely random. And the producers of What Would You Do were like, they were whispering like in the girl's ear thing, like, what do you want to do about it? You know, we can intervene or we cannot. So they just decided to wait and see, to see if somebody would intervene. And people did, but the people that did were women. The only people that did were women. When this was played again with the actual actor that came in, it was played about 4 or 5 times throughout the day with different people that came in. The only people that intervened were women. And when the producer asked these bystanders why they intervened and why they didn't just let this girl go with this guy, they were like, "Because I knew what was going to happen, because this happened to me, or because this happened to my sister." Everybody knows somebody who's had some kind of sexual violence in their life. Even if we don't talk about it, it's everywhere. And when we try to express it, people actually start talking about it. And that's why what Grace is doing is great, because people are gonna start talking about it now. We're getting it out in the open about what happens. And it's not something that should be so hush-hush. You know, people, if this happened to you when you were 5 or 6, you know, like people are like, "Oh, it happened 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't affect me." But it does affect you, and if you don't get counseling for it or get some kind of help, it will affect you later in life. And a lot of times it comes out in unpredictable ways, like drinking or smoking or something like that. Let's see. Basically, to sum it up, sexual violence is any unwanted sexual act committed or attempted against a person's will. It's forced sexual contact by a date, spouse, family member, stranger, or acquaintance. It's so important to remember that it's an act motivated by the need for power and control. It's not about a desire for sex. It's never the victim's fault, even if they were drinking. Nobody deserves to be sexually assaulted. It also doesn't matter what they were wearing. If I had realized that back in 2004, when this happened to me, I would have been able to be strong enough to come forward, to go to the Rape Crisis Center over there and say, "I think I was gang raped. What do I do?" But instead, I hid it. And Florida statute of limitations is 3 years. So in 2007, when I was about to graduate college, and I wasn't there yet, I wasn't at that point, I missed it. So I wonder, you know, I wonder what would have happened if I had come forward at that time. I wonder about things. I wonder about those men. I wonder if they're back in England. I wonder if they're still military. I also wonder how their children are doing, because they told me about their children while they were raping me. I want to say that I'm healed. I want to leave on a good message. But it's hard. I mean, I'm 25 now. This happened to me when I was 18. I'm not over my rape, and I don't think I ever will be. What I do is amazing, and I love what I do, and I love helping people, help them be powerful and get their control back. But, you know, the reality is that I'm going to be in counseling for a very long time. But I think my message that I want to leave here with is that even if it's hard, even if you don't think that you should, and even if you don't think you're going to be believed, you should report, because you don't know what could happen. You don't know what good could come from it. Thank you.
I believe that Grace, you're going to come up and give Jesse's.
Jesse wasn't able to make the physical event today because he had moved to Japan last month. But this is his picture, and sent me over email on what he wanted me to say. The experience. I was sexually abused, molested, raped by one of my elder stepbrother's girlfriends. I was 15 years old. She was in her late 20s or early 30s. My elder stepbrother actually walked in the room just after we had finished. He asked the girl to leave and then turned to me and said, "How did you know that I didn't love her?" This is where the real shame and guilt developed. He used this for years as a way to manipulate me. Later on in my life, I was told that he is the kind of person who sexually abuses women and young girls. So this is why he may have not been able to see what happened to me as being sexually abused, molested, or raped. The healing process, I am currently undergoing early childhood trauma therapy with a very good, skilled, and experienced licensed clinical social worker. My wake-up experience came when I had begun using alcohol and drugs to numb the pain of my childhood experiences. I completely ask anyone who does have early childhood sexual abuse trauma to really ask for help. The biggest thing I would like to share with young men is this. If you are sexually abused as it relates to the laws of your individual state of residence, please report it. The reason for this is you may not be the only one being sexually assaulted in your family or neighborhood. The person who has done this to you is possibly a sexual predator. And if at all possible, please do not let someone make you think it was your fault. Adults or people of adult age who do this to young people are the ones who should know better. What type he would like for policies? He said that I would like to see the statute of limitations taken off sexual crimes, violence against children and adults. The trauma and emotional damage has no statute of limitations and sometimes never subsides. The perpetrator should not be allowed to walk free after a statute of limitation has ended, while the victims, in some instances, have no relief. I reached out to a local congressman about this, and he suggested that I ask state legislators to assist with this. Best regards, Jesse Lee Rose. I'd also like to add a quick note that it does happen to guys, males, that it is not just females who are assaulted, and it said that one in about 33 men will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime.
Okay, our next speaker is Shameen Arfuso, and she is the Executive Director of Create Social Change.
Hi guys, I'm going to shake this up a little bit because I get sad sitting there, listening to this stuff. And what Grace is doing is she's trying to create an awareness. And the reality is that a lot of these crimes that happen, they happen when you're in high school, they happen when you're young. Most of it happens before you're 18 years old. So what she's doing here is huge. And it's hard to talk about it because it's such a sad and messed up thing. And it's important for us to take that taboo and that shame off of it so that people can feel empowered to go up and speak. So I'm just gonna shake things up a bit because I want you guys to get an idea of what the numbers really look like. So I need 12 people in this room to stand up. So just 12 people stand up real quick. 1, 2, okay, that's about 12. So we have about 60 people in this room. So if you look around, these 12 people symbolize 20% of women who will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. And of course, we have the statistic that 75% of people don't report it. So this could actually be a lot higher. So let's get like 4 of you to sit down, like 3 of you, something like that. So now we have 7 out of the 60 people in this room. That is young girls sexually assaulted by the time they're 18. Then let's get a couple more to stand up. Like Grace just said, it happens to men too. So 10 men of 60 men will have some sort of unwanted sexual experience by the time they're 18. And then let's just get 3 people standing. Perfect. You get the point. So that represents men who will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. So the big thing about it is that we don't realize how prevalent it is. One of the things that drives me most crazy that I go around is who in here hears about breast cancer awareness? Sees it everywhere. More women are sexually assaulted than experience breast cancer in their life. So I'm gonna do a little icebreaker with you guys. Grace found me through the Rain Speakers Bureau, and she had gone on to my blog, and I had recently written a blog about how much it pissed me off when people would walk around and using the word rape, like frivolously. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to turn to a partner, and I want to give you 2 minutes, and I want you to talk about things that you don't make jokes about because they really hurt and they really suck. So just take 2 minutes or a minute. Go ahead, turn to your partner. Talk about when people talk about people being fat or being gay. There's lots of stuff.
What's not a joke?
What things that hurt your feelings and that they're joking about.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people.
So think about the stuff that really hurts. Maybe that person who says it doesn't know that it really hurts, but
Yeah.
it makes a big impact on your day.
How about you? You have anything that hurts your feelings? Yeah.
Okay, you guys can start wrapping it up.
I don't like being called stupid.
Can I take some shares? What'd you guys come up with? Come on, guys. There's only 60 of you in the room. I want to hear from the high school kids. Really.
I do too.
I'm serious. I'll get in there. Come on, something. Has someone ever called you fat, gay, something? What do you got?
Hearing people call people gay or faggots or stuff like that, it actually does affect people, sad gay people in my family. And hearing stuff like that affects everyone you say it to and everyone you're around. It's tough to hear and tough to put up with, but you do need to know that words you do use and say can hurt people. A lot of words do hurt. It's not just physical things that can mess people up mentally. Physical is a lot bigger than words, but words do hurt too.
Give Danielle a big round of applause. Come on, guys. I know what high school's like. It sucks. Right? People are talking about stuff all the time. What else is there? Adults? Adults? Come on. No one's got anything? All right.
About cutting and hurting yourself and that.
Do you know someone who's done that?
Yes.
And is it a serious thing?
Not anymore.
No, but it is having a serious side. Does it really mess up people's lives? Okay. What's your name? Grace. Give Grace a big round of applause. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Yeah?
Me and my mom were talking about people jokingly threatening violence on each other, or saying like, I don't know, jokingly like,
No, say it.
to say a bitch slap that hoe on Facebook.
And I called him out. I don't know.
Okay, what are you guys' names?
Rhonda.
Give them a big round of applause. So the thing is that especially in high school, but I mean, I'm 30 and my friends are just as bad. They make jokes all the freaking time. They know what I've been through, but they still make jokes about being raped and this, that, and the other. And it hurts. You know, she was talking about having gay people in her family. One of my best friends just came out to his family. He's 34 years old. And the reality is when you're young and you're going through things in your life, and maybe you're not super masculine, but people calling you gay, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. So like there's a lot of awareness coming around that and talking about cutting or making jokes about violence with people. It's the same thing when you're talking about rape. Who in here knows someone who's died of cancer? A lot of people, right? Maybe you know someone who's died of gang violence? Anyone in here? Okay. Someone else who's died from something else? Do we make jokes about people having cancer? We don't.
No.
Why not?
It's not funny.
Yeah, because it's not funny. It's not funny.
Somebody's suffering.
There is nothing funny about someone dying from cancer. It's the same thing about someone who's been raped. There's nothing funny about it. Nothing. It's, now I have to collect my thought. Grandma, you're so good. We're doing applauses, and I'm like, shit, what am I going to say now? I was on a roll. Okay, so it's not funny. Yes, okay. So one of the things that I hear the most is like people using the term rape in terms of like violation. So like, you know, they had their credit card stolen or their identity stolen or their purse stolen, and it's like, man, I was raped. Has anyone heard that before? Are there other jokes that people have heard regarding rape? Specific ones? What do you got?
Being raped at the gas pump.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by prices. You're being raped by prices. Well,
Okay.
a lot of the work that I do and the stuff that I look at, I'm going to be going back and getting my PhD, is looking at linguistics and, you know, the etymology of words and their importance. And rape is, I mean, it takes down your spirit, it takes down your soul. Someone is physically keeping you down and forcing you to do something that you don't want to do. I mean, we have teenagers in the room, like, it sucks when your parents make you clean your room, right? Right? Okay, well, we're not talking like that. We're talking like something 10 times more serious. 100 times, infinity times more serious. And the thing is, you know, we go back to, I keep going back to what is reported and people being able to talk about it. Well, there's so many jokes being made about it, and it's so depressing that people don't want to talk about it. And the truth is like what Grace is doing, like I am so, okay, so I get these emails all the time for the Rain Speakers Bureau. I go and speak all the time, all sorts of places. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go speak at Los Lomas High School. Cool, you know, what's this little event about? I'm excited. And I'm talking to Grace, and Grace is like, I'm 15. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And what Grace is doing, and she needs to be empowered within her community, so you guys being here today shows her to have the strength. Because the goal isn't to just survive. The goal is to make a change, and the goal is to thrive in your life. The goal is to be proud of the human being that you are and where you've come and where you're going to go and the things that you're going to change in this world. And the only way that that can happen is if our communities start being more supportive and stop making jokes and start making it okay. Because you know what? Things are going to get triggered. My house got broken into a week ago. I was a freaking wreck. Because the last time I was broken into was when I was raped. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my story now. But how many of you in here are under 18? Okay. How many of you are a senior in high school? Any of you senior in high school? Okay. So I was 17 when I was sexually assaulted. I was a senior in high school, and it was a Friday afternoon. I'd gone with my girlfriend, we, did some beauty stuff, and I got home at 4:30, and it was the one time a day where my house was empty, every week. Because my mom had just had a little baby, my little brother. And Friday, she dropped the nanny off to the train station, so our house was empty. So I came home feeling all safe. We lived in a safe neighborhood, probably very similar to Walnut Creek. I lived in Irvine, which is in Southern California. People left their doors unlocked. It was known as one of the safest neighborhoods. And I came home, went upstairs, called my best friend, left her a message. And then I went back down outside and went to grab the mail, and I came back up. And when I got into my room, I was grabbed from behind my door.